What if the very pursuit of logic and reason that seemed to push religion out of modern society became the unexpected bridge that led thousands back to faith? In a world increasingly defined by science and secularism, why are so many intelligent, well-educated individuals, particularly young people in places like the UK, finding profound answers in a faith often misunderstood? This is the gripping, deeply personal story of Alison, a young woman born into a secular world whose relentless search for meaning led her down an extraordinary path, one that forced her to confront her own beliefs, challenge societal norms, and ultimately discover a peace she never knew existed. Imagine a society that has, for generations, gradually dimmed the light of religious observance. The United Kingdom today stands as one of the most secular nations on earth. For centuries, Christianity, deeply interwoven with British identity through the Church of England, shaped daily life. But as the echoes of World War II faded, a profound cultural earthquake began to rumble through the nation, accelerating in the 1970s. Religious adherence began to decline rapidly, especially among those born after the war. People like Alison grew up in a landscape where church attendance was rare, religious education was viewed as optional, and traditional faith often seemed archaic. Several powerful currents converged to create this secular tide. The relentless march of scientific discovery offered new explanations for the universe that once belonged solely to theology. Theories of evolution, modern physics, and medical advancements seemed to render divine intervention obsolete. Schools, with their renewed emphasis on critical thinking and scientific reasoning, subtly pushed religious teachings to the background. Children raised in this new intellectual climate often concluded that science alone was sufficient to understand the world and that religion was a relic of a less enlightened age. Adding to this was a deep erosion of public trust. Scandals involving corruption and abuse within religious institutions left many feeling disillusioned, viewing organized religion with cynicism and suspicion. For many like Alison, it wasn't a conscious rejection of God. It was simply a default setting of non-belief, an assumption that the spiritual realm was either irrelevant or non-existent in their modern rational lives. This was the world Alison inherited, a world that subtly whispered, "You don't need God to find happiness or purpose." But that whisper, she would soon discover, was a hollow promise. Alison's early life was, by all outward appearances, a picture of modern success. She excelled in her studies, pursued a promising career, and cultivated a vibrant social life. She followed the blueprint for happiness that her secular society offered: achieve, consume, and enjoy. Yet beneath the veneer of accomplishment, a quiet, persistent emptiness began to gnaw at her soul. It wasn't despair, but a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction, a feeling that something fundamental was missing. The world, for all its material comforts and intellectual pursuits, didn't seem to offer answers to her deepest questions. Why am I here? What is the purpose of all this striving? Is there anything more? These were questions she rarely voiced, questions her rational, secular upbringing hadn't equipped her to answer. Her journey into the unknown began, as it often does, through unexpected connections. She had Muslim friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. At first, she viewed their faith with a detached curiosity, sometimes even a degree of polite skepticism. She had absorbed the media narratives, the stereotypes, the often negative portrayals of Islam. But these friends were different. They were kind, intelligent, and lived with a profound sense of peace and purpose that intrigued her. They didn't preach, they simply lived their faith. She saw their discipline in prayer, their generosity, and the quiet dignity with which they carried themselves. This stark contrast between her preconceived notions and the reality of her friends' lives ignited a tiny spark of curiosity. Maybe, she thought, there's more to this than what the headlines say. That tiny spark grew. She began to ask questions, hesitant at first, then with increasing boldness. Her friends, sensing her sincerity, gently encouraged her to explore for herself. They suggested she read the Quran. Her rational mind resisted. The Quran, it felt so foreign, so ancient, so religious. But the emptiness persisted, a constant reminder that her current worldview wasn't providing all the answers. So, driven by a deep-seated intellectual honesty, she picked up a translation. What she found stunned her. It wasn't a book of rigid dogma or archaic rules. It was a profound dialogue, a direct communication from a creator to his creation. The Quran spoke of justice, compassion, the universe's intricate design, and the purpose of human existence, topics she had grappled with for years in a philosophical vacuum. It appealed to her reason. It challenged her to think, to reflect, to look at the world with new eyes. She started watching online lectures by Islamic scholars, many of whom were converts from similar secular or Christian backgrounds. Their intellectual rigor, their coherent arguments, and their calm demeanor resonated with her. The journey was far from easy. It was an internal battle. Every day she wrestled with her ingrained secularism, her doubts, and the fear of what her family and friends would think. Could she truly believe in something that seemed so other? Could she commit to a faith that came with such a public identity? She went through phases of intense study, followed by moments of profound doubt. She would read, reflect, pray, and then pull back, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the decision. But each time she pulled back, the familiar emptiness would return, a silent testament to the truth she was trying to avoid. Then, one day, after months of intense spiritual and intellectual wrestling, a profound sense of clarity washed over her. It wasn't a sudden epiphany or a dramatic vision. It was a quiet, undeniable realization. Islam wasn't just a religion. It was the logical culmination of her search for truth, the answer to the questions that had haunted her. It filled the void. It provided the purpose. She understood that surrendering to God was not a weakness, but the ultimate strength. She embraced Islam, reciting the Shahada, the declaration of faith, in a moment that felt both intensely personal and universally profound. The restless search had ended, and a new journey, one of peace and purpose, had begun. Alison's story, while deeply personal, is far from unique. It is a powerful example of a growing trend in the UK and other secular Western societies. For many, science and logic, while providing incredible advancements, have left a void when it comes to life's deepest existential questions. They offer knowledge of how the world works, but not why. For seekers like Alison, Islam offers a comprehensive, coherent framework that fills these gaps. It provides a sense of purpose, a moral compass, and a spiritual connection that secularism, by its very definition, cannot. This is not a story of abandoning reason for faith, but rather of reason leading to faith. Alison found that Islam appealed to both her intellect and her heart, offering a holistic worldview that made sense of life's complexities. Her journey serves as a powerful reminder that no matter where someone starts in life, no matter how secular their upbringing or how deep their initial skepticism, the sincere search for truth can lead to unexpected and profoundly transformative discoveries. Alison's conversion, like that of countless others in highly secular societies, is inherently a form of controversial leadership. It's not the leadership of a politician or a CEO, but the quiet, powerful leadership of example. When an individual from a secular background openly embraces Islam, they are, by their very act, challenging deeply ingrained societal norms and preconceived notions. For Alison, this meant navigating complex conversations with her family and friends. Initially, her mother struggled to accept the decision, influenced by common media portrayals of Islam. This required immense patience and a deep well of compassion from Alison. She had to demonstrate through her actions and her character that her conversion had made her a better person, more patient, more grateful, more mindful. Her younger sister's immediate support and help in convincing their mother played a crucial role, showing the power of personal relationships over societal prejudice. Over time, her mother's perceptions slowly began to shift. She witnessed Alison's newfound peace, her discipline, and her unwavering kindness. The mother, who had once cried over her daughter's choice, eventually came to view Islam not as a threat, but as a beautiful religion, acknowledging the positive transformation in Alison's life. Years later, Alison's grandmother, witnessing this profound change, also followed in her footsteps and recited the Shahada. This is the essence of their leadership. Silently, through their personal example and their willingness to live their truth openly, converts like Alison break down barriers. They become living proof that Islam is not a foreign or oppressive ideology, but a personal path to peace and meaning. Their courage in standing firm in their newfound faith, despite potential social friction or misunderstanding, provides inspiration and validation for others on a similar path. They are leaders by embodying the very values of Islam: justice, compassion, and peace in their daily lives. demonstrating that faith can transform individuals and, in turn, subtly reshape society's understanding of what it means to be truly human. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.